Okay, let me start off by saying hello to my new subscribers and thank you for subscribing to my channel. Today's video is regarding a question that one of my subscribers sent me. Her name is Marian B, and she said, "Hello, Mrs. M. It is my day off and I am re-moisturizing my hair. May I ask you to look at this short video and let me know if both of you are saying the same thing about grease. I may be misunderstanding something. Are you saying that no moisture can get into the hair strands while there is grease on the strand until you wash it out? Whereas Curly Chemistry is saying that once you get in the shower, moisture will penetrate the hair strands despite what people have been saying about hair grease, cons, and I guess she means silicones, etc. Not allowing water to penetrate the hair strands. Are you both saying the same thing but differently?" And she left a link to, I guess, Curly Chemistry's video. And so I'll leave a link to that video in the description box so y'all can check that out. So one thing I want to tell you and show you is just my opinion. I did see the video, Curly Chemistry's video, and you know, she has her own opinion, but it's hard for me to say if we're saying the same thing, because you know how sometimes I can say something and you may say it a different way. So it's perceived as if we're saying two different things, but it's pretty much the same thing. So my response to Marian B was yes and no. Okay guys, so when you attempt to wash grease out of your hair with hot water, the water does not immediately touch your hair. The heat of the water has to melt down the grease, and then the pressure and heat from the flow of hot water separates the layer of grease and pushes most of the grease off the hair strands. Okay y'all, so I have put grease, the blue magic hair grease, in this bowl all around it. And so I'm going to fill it up with water just to see what happens with the grease. My conclusion or my hypothesis is when the water gets in here and sits for a while, it's going to cause the grease to congeal, meaning like it's going to become solid, like little clumps. And I'm thinking the grease is going to somewhat float around in the water. Okay y'all, so now the water is really hot, and I'm just going to fill this up with hot water. Fill it up. As you can see, the oil that's in the grease has already come to the top. And as we know, water and oil don't mix, so that's why the oil has come to the top. So I'm just going to let this sit here for a minute to see exactly what happens. Okay y'all, so I just wanted to show y'all this really quick. I'm still allowing, you know, the water to cool off or whatever to see what happens to the grease. But as you can see, the water is still somewhat hot. The grease has separated and it's floating to the top. You see that? That's the oil. And it's because water and oil don't mix. So as I mentioned before, the water, when the water touches the grease, the hot water, you know, when you're washing your hair, it's going to, the heat of the water or the temperature of the water is going to melt down the grease of the oil, and it's going to separate. And it's going to cause the oil to lift up, the oil or the grease to lift up. And when it lifts up or congeals, that's when the water can go underneath and moisturize your hair. But as far as just spritzing water on, you know, some hair that you've put grease on, you just want to spritz it with some water, it's not that the water has gotten to your hair. It may feel wet, but the water is not on your hair strands. What you're feeling is the moisture or the water on top of the grease. So I'm just going to show it from this angle. As you can see, the grease is floating to the top. The heat has melted the grease and it's coming to the top. If the water was actually able to absorb through the grease, this grease will mix with the water and dissolve. Okay, from this angle you can see at the bottom how the grease is clumping up into little balls, or little solid forms. That's what I meant about the grease is going to congeal. Okay y'all, so I'm gonna get just a little bit of this area right here that has floated to the top. You see that grease moving around in the water? This tells you that the water cannot soak through that grease as much as you would think it would. So let me see your hand, Nadia. I got Miss Nadia right here. So I'm going to, you see this grease? There's the grease right there on my hand. As you can see, it does look a little bit looser, I guess you can say. And I'm just going to put it here so y'all can see. Look at that. It's still greasy. Okay, so I'm going to get the water and just pour it off and see what happens. Pour it into this bowl. Okay. So you see how the grease has like melted down from the sides of the bowl. That's what I mentioned earlier when I said that when you put hot water on your hair, it causes the grease to somewhat slime down and then allow water to touch your hair. It's still not a lot of water that's touching your hair. So when you say, oh, my hair does get some kind of moisture, yeah, it'll get some, but it's not getting a lot. And then a lot of times you're just feeling the gooey grease and water together. In order for your hair to be moisturized, it can't be like just a solid barrier like grease or buildup of oil or even sebum on your hair. It may feel like it, but no. Even the size of this thing right here is still greasy. You see that? It's still greasy. I'm also showing y'all how I wet my hair and then cover it with a plastic cap for about an hour or two, sometimes longer. The water from me rinsing causes the grease to congeal, clump, and then lift up. Therefore, the water is now able to flow under the clump grease. So there's now a water and grease layer on my hair, which adds just a little moisture to my hair before washing it. But I know as soon as I remove the plastic cap, I need to hurry and shampoo my hair before the water drips off or evaporates and the congealed grease hardens. Okay, y'all, so it's about 2 days later, since I did the water experiment, and this is what the grease looks like. As you can see, it's kind of like a solid form. So as you can see, the grease right here in the container is darker than the grease in this little glass bowl. So I'm assuming whatever ingredient is added into the grease to make it this blue color has somewhat washed away with the hot water. Okay, so I'm going to get Nadia to touch the grease in this container here, as well as touch the grease in this bowl. To me, this one is, it's more greasy, slimy, versus this one is somewhat in a harder form. So touch that one, rub it on your little fingers. Okay. Now touch that one. Does it feel the same or does it feel different?
This one is thicker.
It's thicker? Okay. Okay, y'all, so in my videos, when you hear me say no moisture in, no moisture out, when using hair grease. What I'm saying is you can't just spritz your hair with water and think that, you're moisturizing your hair. Not with grease, and probably not with oil either. Or you can't walk outside and think, the moisture from the air is going to, moisturize your hair, or you'll get some kind of moisture. No, you have to use hot water to melt that grease down and allow it to, move off of the hair. And I also think she mentioned about, when you get in the shower and wet your hair, it starts to, coil or whatever, it gets wet. That's completely different from you just trying to, add moisture or spritz water to add moisture. That's completely different. Now, of course, if you're in the shower and you're running hot water, it has to be hot, as hot as you can stand it. If you're running hot water on your hair, as I've shown you, it's going to melt down the grease. So it's going to melt down the grease and melt down the oil. So at that point, the water can touch your hair and cause your hair to, start coiling or waving up. Okay guys, that's pretty much it for this video. If you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Leave me some comments. Thumbs up this video. Share this video with all of your social media friends. And until the next video, guys, bye-bye.